Hello, my name is Ram Venkatraman. This video is part of a project management series that I'm releasing for project managers, delivery managers, and program managers working in Indian software industries. And today's video is part of program management topic that we already have. In the previous video, we just covered the first two phases of program management, which are inception and detailed planning. At the end of detailed planning, we would have been ready with the program management plan, the comprehensive program management plan, which would also include the underlying project management plans as well. So once we have the project management and program management plans ready, I would request all my project managers to exchange their project management plan and review among themselves. In the same way, I will request an ACPG auditor to audit all my project management plans as well as program management plan. In that way, we can ensure that we don't miss out any critical items. So all the project management plans as well as program management plan review has to be done. And number two, the ACPG, that is quality assurance team, has to be involved in your program even before you start with your execution plan. So that needs to happen. Their inputs should also be included. Otherwise, they would come towards the end of it and they would bring another complication, which you can avoid by having their presence earlier in the program. Let's assume that we are getting into execution phase. As part of execution phase, I would like to mention about one execution methodology which is gaining popularity in agile development projects. That is behavioral driven development, which is also known as BDD. BDD, you have your business analyst, tester, and developer. They actually sit together and try to understand the user stories. Agile, all the requirements come in terms of user stories, right? So they discuss and they start development by creating the test scripts. Even before the developers start developing the coding, the programming, the tester will start writing test scripts, maybe which may be in Selenium or any other automation tools, right? And those test scripts will start their execution before the code will be ready. Obviously, it will start failing. And once the developer start developing the coding and once it completes, that test script will start getting successful results. So it will pass. So in this way, they will avoid excessive coding and testing. So this BA developer and tester will sit and determine what this user story is going to bring out, and that will just be met by this methodology, and there is no extra gold plating done here. So this is one of the agile execution methodologies. The other important point that we have to consider is the right review happening across your execution phase. You as a program manager, you have to make sure that you review your progress with the right stakeholders within your team, and you take that view to your organization senior management, and take the same view to your client stakeholders so that they will not be left out. And whatever report that you generate should be made automatic. I mean, neither your technical team members nor your project managers should be spending time in generating these reports. Maybe a Tableau report or Power BI should be automatically generating the reports whatever you need, and you have to check the right risk that are being identified during your execution. As I mentioned in the inception as well as initial phase, you will come up with your risk register that needs to be enhanced during execution phase as well. For every risk that we identified in the risk register, I would prefer to give two weightages. Number one is impact of that risk. Number two is probability of that risk occurring. For example, let me take the risk number one, right? The impact of that risk is zero point 0.3, and the probability of that risk occurring is zero point 0.5. So if you just add these two weightages together, it is going to be zero point 0.8, zero point 0.3 plus zero point 0.5, zero point 0.8. So I may have different ceilings, and for every ceiling, I'll have a different course of action. For example, if it is if that accumulation of these two weightages is less than zero point 0.5, then I may choose to ignore. I don't want to do over engineering for those risks that has less impact and less probability of occurring. If it is between zero point 0.5 to 0.75, I will keep discussing about these risks and their impacts maybe once in a month along with my other stakeholders. If it is above 0.75 to 1, then I will probably check that risk occurring maybe once in a week or something. I may choose to have a different course of action. And these risk and their probability and their impact keep changing at least once in a month. So you may have to go through all that risk given in your risk register and make sure that whatever weightages that you already calculated are still suitable. Otherwise, you may have to change. So that needs to happen. And during execution phase, the other point that you have to be very careful is team dynamics and team morale. That too, when you get closer to your release dates, right, the team morale is likely to go down. If it is waterfall at the beginning of the execution, they have more time, and when they get closer to release dates, they will be on toes, right? So try to avoid that part. The load has to be equally distributed, and if it is agile, they will always be on their toes because it is sprint based, and they will be under pressure during every sprint. But in both the cases, you have to ensure that your team's morale is up, right? There shouldn't be any politics involved. Finger pointing the mistakes on each other, and development team pushing that blame on testing, and testing it coming back to development team. All those things are likely to happen. And if you have any third party vendor also working in your team, right? If you need to collaborate with third party vendor, then you need to have multiple discussions. I would recommend to have at least a day sync up with third party vendors, maybe morning stand up calls with them, and make sure that all that issues are ironed out as early as possible. Otherwise, it will actually kill when we get closer to release dates. That needs to happen. And when we get closer to release date, we have to ensure that the number of different severity defects, right? As a program manager, you need to have a check on all the severity number one, two, three, four types of defects at your fingertips. That should be there. And what is the course of action that you will have for a different set of priority defects, right? If it is severity 1, then you may not be able to hit production. If it is severity 2, you may still be able to go to production, but with some caveat in it. Severity 3 and 4, you may choose to defer those defects for next set of releases. But you need to have a daily sync up with your testing team, and keep an eye on your report on different severities. That needs to be circulated to your customer stakeholders. One more important aspect is that whenever we do migration projects, right? Migration from one operating system to another one, or on-prem to cloud, we just make sure that we baseline that application performance before we do migration. Otherwise, towards the end of migration, when we get closer to release, there will be a lot of claims saying that application performance has gone down drastically after it is moved from platform A to platform B. Those claims cannot be accepted without you checking it scientifically. So you have to take that existing application performance, which is baseline, along with your current one. That is after you move from one to another platform. So you need to compare it scientifically and check where the performance has gone down. If it is really a genuine claim, then you may have to put a fix for that. So it is very, very essential that you get the baseline the performance of the existing application. That's very crucial. Another point before we complete the execution, right? For a couple of my agile programs, there are two critical metrics that I always check. Number one is that commitment reliability. Number two, velocity sustainability. Commitment reliability is that before the team starts with their sprint, they have to commit on a particular velocity that they are trying to achieve in the sprint. and how much they are able to achieve on their commitment is called the commitment reliability. For example, if they are targeting a velocity of 50 and if they are able to achieve 40, then it is 40 divided by 50 into 100. So their commitment reliability is around 80%. And the velocity sustainability. So how they are able to sustain their velocity throughout their sprint in their release. I mean, if you have like 8 sprints in the release, in the first sprint, if they are able to achieve 50, and the second sprint they are able to achieve 48, third is 52. Variations of plus or minus 5 is fine, right? But if it is 50 to 10 to 100 to 75, so that kind of variation should be avoided. Then the team is not very stable and the user stories are not easy to achieve, and they don't know what the team is not sure what they are going to achieve in the next sprint. That needs to be avoided. That has to be understood well. So that is velocity sustainability. So that needs to happen. So these are the few important metrics that I would check in agile programs that I handle. Okay, so these are the important points that you will check in your execution. Okay, now I am getting closer to my release dates. What are the things that I have to do before I put my program into production? I mean, my changes into production, right? So at least a week before, you have to ensure that you give a transition to your support team members. As I mentioned already, support team members should be involved even from design phase onwards, detailed planning and design. But their involvement will be lesser as we are deeply into execution, that is development and testing. But as we get closer to release, the support members should be given transition on the different changes that we accomplished in that particular release. So they should be clear documentation on what are the different changes, what are the technical as well as business changes that are done, that needs to be given back to release team members. That needs to happen. And even other team stakeholders should also be included in that particular discussion. And your release plan has to be charted out with what is the predecessor of the particular activity, what is the successor of the particular activity, when this activity is going to occur, what happens if that activity is going to fail, and who is the owner of that particular activity. So with that, as much details as possible, a release plan has to be drawn out, and the release plan has to be discussed at least multiple times with all the stakeholders involved in this release. During that release, you have to make sure that all that support members, I mean, from development team as well as that support members will be available to provide that necessary supports. And I mean, you need to bring in your business stakeholders as well for every step sanity check that needs to happen, and you need to get buy-ins from your business stakeholders. And if there is any issue that would happen, then you guys have to fix it within that stipulated time and go back and put that in production and get that tested again, and that needs to happen. And after the release, at least for 2 to 3 weeks, there will be a warranty period, right? So during which the development team, people who made that particular changes will have to support along with the release, I mean, support team members. So, but the primary support will be provided by development team members. So these are the few things that I just wanted to cover. I mean, there are multiple other stuff that we can keep talking about program management, but these are the critical items that I see missing from many of the programs that I have been handling. So these are the things that I just wanted to cover as part of this video. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comment column. And thanks for watching. Bye.